I am going to test every tool and every creature to find out which one harvests the most mutagel from these rocks in the space biome. While you're watching the tests, if you find any of the information in the video helpful, please consider giving the video a like or subscribing to the channel. Say hello to this video's subscriber Shinehorn, who is Mr. Spacebird 413. So I just want to make a point that in this video, I'm going to be solely focusing on the mutagel rocks that are found in the space biome. I am aware that there are mutagel nodes located under Rockwell's heart in the innards that you can access when the acidic liquid goes down. We will discuss harvesting those in a different video. So when mutagel rocks are present in the space biome, just to remind you that the drops in the game will be white in color and that you will see a purple ringed Saturn-like planet in the nighttime sky. So how this series of tests is going to work is that I'm going to harvest this particular mutagel asteroid over and over again. I'm going to harvest all of the mutagel nodes on this asteroid, and there are 15 in total, 5 times. So that will be a total of 75 mutagel nodes. And from that, we're going to calculate, and I know I said calculate, it's a little bit of math, but don't be scared. We're going to calculate the average amount of mutagel you get using each tool and creature from those rocks, so that you can most efficiently harvest for the future. The reason that I am going to be using an average is I have found that when harvesting mutagel, sometimes you will get 0 mutagel from the rock, and sometimes you will get a lot. There seems to be a completely randomly generated number of mutagel that you get from each rock. So we're going to use that average to try and balance out the variation that you get when harvesting. So one more thing just before we get started with the testing is that here are the things that don't work. So the Doed gives you nothing but stone, so it's a waste of time. The sickle doesn't harvest any of the mutagel, neither does the chainsaw. Also the Mega Chilon does not harvest any of the mutagel. So the first tool that we will be testing is the mining drill. Now normally this is an amazing harvesting tool, but for mutagel it's really disappointing. As you can see here, we're getting very small numbers, and when we look at the numbers overall, the first time I harvested I only got 10 mutagel, then 9, then 15 for the next harvest, 6, and then 9 again. So that gives us an average of 9.8 per asteroid and only 0.65 per mutagel node. So that's not very efficient at all. The next tool that we will be testing is the metal hatchet. This is a little better than the mining drill, and for the asteroid harvesting I got 13 on the first one, 15, 15, and 16 and 16 on the last harvest. That gives us an average of 15 mutagel per asteroid and an average of 1.0 per node. So almost double what the mining drill gives. So for the next test we will be using a primitive metal pickaxe. And when we test with the primitive metal pickaxe, on the first harvest round I got 52 mutagel. The next one I got 52 again. The third one I got 51, next was 49, and the last one was 39, so it's some of them just end up being a little bit lower than the others, and I don't know why. That gives us an average of 48.9 mutagel per asteroid and 3.24 mutagel per mutagel node. So the next kind of tool, not really a tool that we're using, is actually the Tek Super Punch. So if you just run up to the mutagel rock and activate the Tek Punch, you will notice you actually get quite a lot of mutagel. So when I ran through this, I got 49 on the first harvest, then 56, which is quite a lot, 51, another low number 41, and 54. So that gives an average of 50.2 per asteroid, and then an average of 3.34 per node. So this beats out any other primitive tool that you can get for mutagel harvesting. So given that the Tek Punch was the best of all of the tools, I wanted to find out if it would be better than the pickaxe if it was an Ascendant Pickaxe. So I did the same experiment using an Ascendant Pickaxe, and with that I got the following results. The first harvest was 42 mutagel, the next harvest was 59 mutagel, the next one 58, The fourth harvest was 77 mutagel and quite a spike there. And the last one was 46. So again, a lot of variability. That gives an average of 56.4 mutagel per asteroid and an average of 3.76 per mutagel node. So as far as the tool options go, if you have an Ascendant Pickaxe, use that. Otherwise, the best option is the Tek Punch because it's also really fast and you harvest a lot of mutagel. What we are going to do next is to move on to the creatures and dinosaurs that we can use to try and harvest and see which one of those is the best. So I used a bunch of creatures and I've kept their melee stat at base level and tried to keep it as similar as possible to the other creatures I was using. Once they leveled up, I only put points into weight and not into the melee. So the first creature I used was the Anky, and on my first 2 harvests I got 57. The next harvest I got 70. And the harvest after that was 47 and then 49. So again, quite a lot of variability with a big spike in the middle. And that gives an average of 56 per asteroid and an average of 3.73 per mutagel node, which is similar to the Ascendant Pickaxe. These guys are really fun to swim around in space as well. So the next creature I am testing with is a Mantis with a primitive pickaxe. Mantises are generally excellent harvesters, and we've already determined that the pickaxe is the best tool. So when harvesting with the Mantis, on the first harvest run I got 62 mutagel. On the next run I got 61, then 50, 52, and on the last harvesting run I got 63. So again, some variability, but that gives us an average of 57.6 per asteroid and 3.84 per mutagel node, so just slightly above where the Anky was. The next logical step is to test the Mantis with an Ascendant Pickaxe. This being one of the strongest tools, it should give us more mutagel. But all that I can say is that the results are really disappointing. I think there's something bugged about putting an Ascendant Hatchet or Pickaxe onto a Mantis. I've found this with element shards on Crystal Isles. The harvesting is worse than when just using the primitive pickaxe. So the amounts I got for my first harvest were 46, then 47 for the next harvest, 49, 43, and 67 for the last harvest. So quite a big one there, but the rest were really disappointing. That gives an average of 50.4 per asteroid and 3.36 per mutagel node. So this is similar to the Tek Punch and poorer than both the regular pickaxe with the Mantis and the Anky. The next creature we are testing is going to be the Magmasaur. I love the way these guys swim in space. It kind of looks like they use the Moser animation to get them to move. Since Genesis Part 1 came out, these guys have really been the go-to harvester for metal and crystal. They do really well with mutagel as well. So my harvesting amounts were 76 on the first harvest, 70 on the next, then 77, 76, and 63 for the last harvest, so generally pretty consistent and much higher than the other creatures. The added bonus with this is that they heal from ambergris, so if you get attacked by a void worm out there, that may help you. The other thing is they have a weight reduction for ambergris as well, which is really important because you tend to get slot capped very easily with ambergris, especially with these creatures, and you don't want it to weigh you down, so you frequently need to dump the ambergris, but in this case it weighs less, which is really good. So the averages for the Magmasaur were 72.4 per asteroid and 4.82 per mutagel node, so much higher than the other harvesters so far. The next creature we are testing is the Phoenix, which can only be tamed on scorched earth in a heat wave. I'm not going to go on about it too much because for mutagel it's a little disappointing. The amounts that I got when harvesting with it were 47, 53 for the next harvest, 44, 48, and on the last harvest I got 65, which is a bit above the others. That gives us an average harvest of 51.4 per asteroid and 3.24 per mutagel node, so one of the lower of the harvesters that we have and kind of similar to some of the tools. So the next creature is probably the most disappointing harvester for Mutagel that is around, and that is a Stryder. Believe it or not, this is actually a max level Stryder, and the amounts I got for harvesting were a total of 19 for the first round, 16 for the next, 20 for the third harvesting round, 13 for the next, and the last one I only got 6 Mutagel. This gives an average of 14.8 per asteroid and 0.98 per Mutagel node, so less than 1 per node is pretty terrible. Although it can send out that multi-harvest pulse beam, its numbers are really low, so it's not worth it. The last creature I have to give credit to the people in my Discord for, because I asked a question, any other creatures I should test, and they suggested both the Mega Turtle and the Rock Elemental, and the Rock Elemental is surprisingly good. Its big flaw is that when swimming in space it is really slow, but it is a really good Mutagel harvester. In testing its harvesting abilities, on the first harvest I got 81 Mutagel, on the next I got 70, the following was 79, then 71 and 73. So generally quite consistent. That gives an average of 74.8 per asteroid and 4.98 per Mutagel node. So nearly 5 Mutagel per rock, which is really high. So here I have a list of all of the tools and creatures ranked by the average per Mutagel node. If you are very early game, I recommend just using the free Tek Punch that comes with your new Federation suit. If you manage to score an Ascendant Pickaxe in a drop, that would be good too. When it comes to creatures, the Magmasaur and the Rock Elemental stand out really above all the others, with nearly getting 5 Mutagel on average. The Rock Elemental is the highest, but you also need to consider some of the more practical aspects. Moving around the space biome, it's slow, very slow, and so that could affect your actual harvesting ability over time. While the Magmasaur is actually quite fast in space and has the added bonus of having a weight reduction for the ambergris, which you will need to throw out constantly when harvesting because it can affect how much Mutagel you get. So either of those I think would be an excellent option. It just depends on how you feel about speed. If you have made it to the end, I really appreciate you watching. If you have found the information in this video helpful and you haven't done so, please consider giving a subscription to the channel, as it really helps me grow. Thank you so much. Have a great day.